Well, you know what these campaigners do when there's an election? They promise everything but the shirt and pants they're wearing. Anyway, if we voted Liberal, well, we'd get a bridge. But then Argenta was in CCF for many years before the Quakers come in here. So the valley, Marblehead, Hauser, Meadow Creek, we had a road to see the Hauser up this side. They had a railroad, but they wanted a bridge at Marblehead. So that's where the bridge went in, was at Marblehead. What for? The deer and the bears eventually started to use. That's all the use that bridge had got.
Did Marblehead vote Liberal? I mean, was that the...
Well, certainly. And Hauser. And they got the bridge. And to top it off, this man, Sid Leary, he had a sawmill to boot over in the Casp. And his mill supplied all the timber for the bridge. So that's as far as that got. But no one used the bridge. There was no road. There was a bridge there, but no road to Hauser or anywhere else. So it sat there for quite a long time. And finally they had to get that one out of there because it was getting so rotten and there was no use repairing it, so they got rid of that one. So when Social Credit got in, they were great for roads, building roads and bridges and highways all over the country. They put this one in between Argenta and Johnson's Landing. Today it's the same as it was the day they built it. And Lardeau-Caslow Road, they put that one in at that time, and the one from Girard to Trout Lake. They just rushed all those in. Well, however, we still wanted a bridge. So the people here, the Quakers it was their property, their timber. We all got together and offered the government that we would supply the timber and peel it and get it to the bridge site. So they said, they agreed. They said, fine, good. That was free of charge. That was a donation to the government to get that bridge in, which they rushed it through. They got an old wreck of a bridge to set on these piling that we cut, and well, they went at it too fast, and the river come up so high that year. I think it was the 24th of May, if I remember right. A peak of high water hit, and it started to wipe that bridge out. So naturally, they had to get it out of there. Or otherwise it was going to jam the river and flood the country down below. So then, after that, they put in this mess that this is two bridges put together, the one we got there now. They put that in. Well, that held. And in 1956, the Department of Highways wanted a cribbing put in because the river would wash around the end of the bridge. So Jim McNichol and I built that cribbing that's there today. That's how many years ago. It's still there, but I don't know how much longer it'll last. But that's the way that was.
Why was this area so strong CCF?
It's out of the way, and at that time we did have a good man, Harridge, for the federal, and then provincially, we had a young fellow by the name of Harding. Well, he come in after. It was before Harding got in the provincial. It was conservative and liberal for a long time, until Harding come in, and then from that time on, it was the CCF always, because it was it was mostly poor people here. What rich people there were, well, naturally they are not rich, but well-to-do people. Naturally they don't vote that way. It's
what your folks were strong CCFers?
After the CCF got in, well, then it was CCF.
Was there always a local club like the one there is now?
No, these people come around, and of course, mind you, today there's more people than there was then, and spread out more. But the people that were running for, like Harridge and Harding and Sid Leary and old Charlie Fitzsimmons, he was the captain on the Okanagan, or the Arrow Lakes. Sid Leary was Fitzsimmons was conservative, and Sid Leary was liberal. He had a sawmill, and it just went back and forth. And then for a long time we had a man by the name of Essling. He was a conservative, and he was a wonderful man. So people voted for him, for the man, not the party, which they do today, yet today. But they would come around and go from house to house. Do you know that I have not seen any of these people here? Neither Christensen nor Lauren Nicholson nor Briscoe nor any of them. Never come around. They hold a meeting, well, like at Jewett or up here. Well, I don't go to them because half the time you can't get a word in edgeways. I want to talk to them man to man and tell them just exactly where Jake's shedding the buckwheat, let's put it that way. But they don't do that anymore. And it's not good. They should come around, and Christensen did go up the valley, but he didn't come around. I didn't see any, neither did my wife in Castle. See a single one of them. It's not good. I don't think they're not that busy, and anyway, that's the way things run. And in those days when the Liberals were in, well, the Liberal people got government jobs, and then the next term the Conservatives would get in. Well, all the Liberal that had government jobs would be wiped out the very next day, and the Conservatives put theirs in.
That'd be Caslow, I guess, government agent.
That's right, and road foremans here, and fire wardens, and if you wanted any type of a government job, that's the way it worked.
The fire warden and
yeah.
Now the road foreman was
the road foreman.
Was an Argenta person for Argenta.
That's right.
Who was the road foreman back, say?
Conservative was Tommy Coleman. And next door here.
Yeah.
And old Jim Alexander at Cooper Creek was Liberal. He was the Liberal road foreman. When the Liberals got in, well, Tommy Coleman would get a kick in the ass, and the very next day, and down Johnson's Landing, same thing.
Who was it in the landing?
Well, there was old Bill McNichol. He was a road foreman, and he was Liberal. And old man Raper, he was the Conservative. And that's the way it worked. They don't do that anymore. Well, they try, I guess. But in your, like, when the Liberals got defeated in this federal election, well, naturally all their employees are going to be out of a job.
Well, now they have civil servants union, I guess.
Yeah, and that's...
Well, what about unions up in the woods up here? Did the IWA come up and organize here very early?
Well, like KFB, they've got their IWA shop stewards and whatnot right up here.
When did they first come in?
Oh, this is when the unions first started.
The
IWA is a strong union, and I think it's a good one because it looks out for the working man. I mean, if you get fired for some reason that you don't know why, well, then you've got someone to go to.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of private contractors in the
and now, when you hire on with a company, whether it be the government or like KFP, they have got 30 days to see what you're all about.
Mm.
And if you don't pan out, well then within that, by the end of that 30 days, they have to ask you to leave. But if you're there any longer than that, well, you're there.
Mm.
They have to have an awful good excuse. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm sure I don't.
Mm.
I've never got into work for anybody. I've worked mostly for myself, and then odd jobs on the roads. Whenever there was an election coming up, there was lots of work. A few days ahead.
Which road crew did you work on, Liberal or Conservative?
Well, either one, whichever one was in. Didn't make any difference till they got in. And then, of course, after they got in, well, they run out of money, and that shut her down. That's the way they worked it. And then we done a lot of work for the Dominion government on wharves at Argenta and Johnson's Landing.
Did you help build this one?
Yeah, this one and the one at Johnson's Landing.
Mm. Was there a bigger wharf here before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is just a little corner of it.
Mm.
Well, that's the way this politics works around here. Doesn't matter to me. I mean, now, as far as I'm concerned, they're all one is as great or as bad as the other.
Mm. Do you remember Red McLeod?
Oh, yes.
Firsthand?
When he was still going strong, still stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. That was his motto.
Mm.
He lived up at Hauser and for a long time, and then people wanted to get rid of him, so they had a mill there, sawmill, and they had sawmill owners cut lumber, and they delivered it down here to Argenta, to that shack down there. That's what they built for old Red McLeod. He had him out of Hauser, and they dumped him here.
I mean, they just dumped the lumber down there and said...
Well, and then they got somebody here to volunteer to build the place for him.
Oh, he was pretty old.
Oh yeah, he was getting on. And he couldn't build an apple box at any time, young or old. He had his own career, and it wasn't building. But he was a good. At one time, he lived up at ranch up. There's no trace of it now. Right at where the Lavina Road takes off up the hill.
Mm.
The first Lavina Road.
The one that they use now?
No, there's one this side of that.
Mm.
But that's about about a mile this side of the one that's there now.
Mm.
And that's where, and there was a ranch there, Billy White. Now there's a man that you should go to see, and that's old Clarence White in Caslow. That was his home in the early days.
Is that Billy White's son?
Son, yeah. Clarence, he's still alive. He's retired. But he could tell you lots, much more than I can,
Mm.
of the early days. Well, there was a log, their home was still standing there. There was a log house, and old Red McLeod lived in there a long time. He had mineral claims up at the top there, just below the Lavina Peak. So then he had a saddle horse and lived there, and he was a real good, at that time he was a good clean housekeeper. It was a treat, even to go in. He kept it so nice.
How old were you then? Were you still a kid?
Oh yeah. And then right up until he burnt himself out there. The house burnt down, so then he'd moved to Hauser from that point. And then Hauser decided he better get out of there, and they built him a place down here. And this is where his last days were.
How did people take to having him?
He didn't actually bother anybody here. He was far enough away. He didn't bother anyone, but he still, even when he was here, he would get himself into trouble.
When you were a kid, were you afraid of him?
No, not too much, because he liked kids. He was a great old man, but that was his motto when he moved. He'd steal from the rich and give to the poor.
Did you think that was great?
Oh yeah, we sure we did.
Were you ever on the receiving end?
Yeah, we got some stuff, but Dad told him to take it back. He didn't want to have anything to do with it because things were getting pretty hot.
Like what? Food or?
Food mostly. Yeah. I don't know if I had told you before about when the Mounties were after him.
No.
During probation time, and everybody was making their home brew. It stills all over the country. And I remember this very well. We lived in that cabin behind the house, the big house up there. That's where I was born, and it was just kind of 3 rooms, a bedroom and a kitchen, and 2 bedrooms and a kitchen. Well, they had and the kitchen was a long room. So Red McLeod was up there at the time when the cops were looking for him. And my dad was brewing his brew, but they had the kitchen partitioned off with a bed sheet or a blanket, and the brewery was in behind that blanket. And when I could see when the cop came up, well, Dad ushered Red McLeod in behind there, behind that blanket. Cops come in, and I was always scared of cops. That is one thing I was scared of, was the cops, Mounties. I don't know why. And I still, to this day, well, I was teased so badly. These old loggers and whatnot, when I was just a kid, they'd say the Mounties are coming to get you and all this sort of thing, and it really scared the hell out of me. Anyway, Red was hiding in there when the cops come in, and they asked for if Red McLeod was in the house, and Dad said, no. Well, he said, what's behind that blanket? He said, that's the bedroom. My wife is sick. She's in there. You just don't go in there. So they didn't. Of course, that's a little different then than what it is today. They'd go in there regardless today. Who was sick?
Oh, your dad was a good bluffer.
Yeah, he bluffed his way. But they respected old Red, but no one crossed him.
What did he look like?
He was a big man and had a real snow white mustache. and hard, glistening, sharp blue eyes, just like ice they were, and a mop of red hair. But he was a big, well, he never done a day's work in his life. This was straight as a candle, even when he was in his 70s.
He rode horses.
He rode horses and he stole horses. That was he had been hiding a lot of. He'd steal horses, and his brother had a ranch over in East Kootenai.
Mm-hmm.
He'd steal horses in this area and take them over the Hamel Creek Trail, Earl Grey.
Uh-huh.
Take him down to his brother's place and in the pasture there. That's probably the time when the Argenta mine was, the trail was, well, they had a pack train, one coming and one going, steady up that. And the Argenta mine booming until it shut down. Now there's another, I was just thinking today that you should contact Chris Hansen in Salmo. Have you done, maybe I told you to do that before.
Yeah, I have his name. Yeah.
Well, he could tell you a lot about the mining days as well as Argenta and what was going on at that time.
This last time you told me that he and his father used to come by and visit you.
Yeah, they'd stop overnight. I thought of him today, and I said, when you mentioned you were coming down here, that you should see him for information.
I wanted to ask you about logging in Argenta, because I've been around to different places and seen logging in the land co-op and up beyond there, and many places there are a lot of stumps in the woods. It's obvious that it's been logged.
Oh yes, it has been here for many, many years. I worked with, hung on the end of the crosscut saw for my dad when I was 8, 9 years old, up there, cutting logs for the jippos.
All in Argenta?
In Argenta, yep. I made a lot of cedar poles come out of this country up in the pass there, and fir piling, mostly. Not too many saw logs. It was mostly cedar poles and piling material, that type of thing.
Who were the jippos? Argenta people too?
No, they were loggers come in. Old Hanna, he had a logging camp, and another guy, the name was Sammy Loffman, he had a regular logging camps. And they had tie camps, hacking ties.
What's that?
For CPR railroad ties.
What did you just call them?
I called it hacking. You know, they used with a broad axe. They'd fall a tree and square them or slab them on two sides.
By hand?
By hand, and buck them up into the proper length, 8 foot or whatever.
Did your father do that?
Yeah, he did a lot of that. And a lot of people did that for a living. That was quite a, I don't know what they got at that time. And we had a little mill down at where Stevenson's are. The old, our tool shed and office is still there.
Who had that? You and...
Our brothers and Dorothy, my wife's dad, and his 2 brothers and myself.
How long did you run for that?
We cut ties in the mill. Well, that was during the last war where we were milling there at that time.
Where's the mill now? Did you sell it locally?
Yeah, and what wasn't sold was parts, pieces that were stolen and whatnot. Whereas when Stevenson moved in, we had to move the mill out of there, and we took it up to Pete's place. That's up at the end of the road. It was stored there. So
Well, that looks like it must have been quite a place up there. You got lots of land cleared. And,
up the hill there, yeah.
Who lived there?
Well, there were different people. But Pete cleaned it off first. But before him, there was little farms, small farms, and that's where the logging camps were set up, was up at that end.
Mm.
And then up where Mottners are, that A-frame of Bob and Ed's, that was a postmaster. Argenta had that, and that was, half of that was all, the lower half of that was cleared and planted to orchard.
Mm.
There's apple trees still there. I've been grafting on there last year. They're all grown up to bush. But just to show you how fast the timber grew, that place was cleared right off, and then after the old guy left, abandoned the thing, the bush grew back up in among the apple trees, and Mottners cut logs anyways up from 16 to 20 inches on the stump.
Mm.
And that's, I remember when it was still cleared, no brush. That'll be about 58 somewhere years ago, and you see how fast timber grows.
Mm.
If it's properly trimmed and we worked up there in our spare time. And many times Pete and I walked from here up there before breakfast to get to work after the weekend, you know.
Uh-huh. And then you'd work up all week there?
All week and then come home.
Who ran that one?
Well, it was George McGinnis was the name.
Mm-hmm.
And then he moved from here and went over the East Kootenai, St. Mary's country. Logged there. But he was more of a cedar pole man than, you know. That's what he really...
What was his mill? Out by Kenny's? Or?
No, it was right in Hauser. It was a 14-mile walk by gosh from here.
Was that with the old railway bridge across Hamel Creek? And
yeah, well, no, that washed out. There was a regular wagon road bridge.
The high road up above.
The high road, yeah.
Mm.
And he cut a lot of ties too, and shipped them out by rail.
Did you have a horse for logging?
Yep. Yeah, that's all we used was horses.
Was it a double team or a single team?
I had both, and then Tars had a team, and I had a team, and I ended up with a single horse in the end for skipping poles and whatnot, and then on the farm up here.
Where did you get them, the horses?
Well, they were brought in from the prairie mostly, big horses.
Any special breed or?
Well, they were Clyde and Perchin, those two. But they were big.
Did you like working with horses?
Oh yeah, and before that, well, in the real early days, my folks, they didn't have money to buy horses, so we had an ox to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And then our neighbor Gallus, he had an ox.
I guess they're not as smart as a horse, eh?
Well, they're smart. They're slow. When they get down to pull, they'll get down on their knees, on their four legs, right down on their knees, and brace themselves.
Who taught you to horse log? Your dad?
Yeah. You can get horses get pretty smart.
Mm.
Once you show them what you want done, on a real old logging horse, you don't need to drive them. You can one man load them up in the woods, and the man out at the landing at the skidway to unhook them, and then he'll send them back into the bush, and you load them up and send them back to the... Not too many horses like that.
Did you have those kind of horses?
Oh yeah. Comes dinner time, 12 o'clock, no way you could make him go back. He'd go right straight for his spot where there was some hay and oats. And they get foxy. It's really a treat, to work with an animal like that.
When was it? How old were you when you first took the reins on the horse and started working?
Oh, about, I don't know, 7 or 8.
Did the horse show you what to do?
He pretty well did have to. Well, we were logging up there where Kenny Serena's mill is now. Mm-hmm. I had to sing a horse, and another guy had a horse, and a fairly old horse. And the barn was up. I don't know if you ever know where there's a cable crossing across the river that the water rights branch used. Yeah. Well, we had our barn was there for that job. And that horse that this fella was mine, I had to drive mine because he was a young bugger, and you couldn't trust him. But this one in particular I was fairly old, and the guy that was driving him was fairly old, and he would load him up, and then instead of running up alongside the load driving them, he'd put the lines up on the hames and walk behind. At noontime, it was the last turn before lunch. That horse never went to the landing. He went straight about a mile right up to the barn with his load.
Log and all.
Log and all.
Lunch was lunchtime.
Yeah, that's... They know.
Were there special instructions that you had, words that you used to... If you wanted to turn right, what would you say?
It was G and Ha. Now I forget which one is which. You holler out G. I think G was... darn, I can't remember. To the left and Ha to the right. They know that. They get to know it. And they're really wonderful to work with. But you can't make any money now with them.
You could then?
Well, that's all you had.
When did you log first with a cat?
That'd be after the war.
So you logged with horses right through the war?
Yeah.
How many logging horses were there in Argenta? Were there a dozen or so? Or?
Well, there was, before we started, and when these logging camps were there, well, they had whole 3 or 4 teams each.
All up at
up there at the camp. Yeah.
Hmm. Did they have a big bunkhouse there?
There and down below at Stevenson's place, there was a long barn. That's where one of the logging contractors lived. That was his property to start with, Hanna. That's another fellow. Have you ever run into him?
Hanna.
George Hanna?
No.
He lives in Caslow, retired. He was the son of this logger.
Is it Lou Hanna, is it? Is it Lou Hanna, his father? Is that his name?
Oh, I can't remember what the old man's name or first name was, because we always called him Mr. Hanna. That's one thing, when we were kids, we never called the old people by their name. It was always Mr. But George, he went through university and a mining engineer. He was down in South America and all over. Then he retired in Caslow. Spends most of his time in the beer parlor. I guess mostly for company. But he could tell you a lot, too. Because he's much older than I am.
Did he grow up here?
Yeah.
How many cows did you have at home?
Well, we used to milk cows. We had 7 or 8 milk cows. We'd milk them and separate the cream and ship that to Nelson by boat, CPR boat. That was our income. And then fruit trees, shipped cherries, apples, mostly cherries. And then had some sold, raised the calves from these cows and shipped the beef, baby beef. It was tough going.
What's the story behind the Billy plum?
Oh, that my dad. He got a wild seedling plum and grafted something on it, and I forget what it was, and it come up to be a real good plum, 3 stone.
But different from anything else around?
Yeah.
Your folks really enjoyed farming?
Oh, yes. Mostly fruit farming was that's what they come here for. What encouraged them to come west. Wasn't too much going for them. They had a store in almost out of Edmonton. That's where that clock come from. That was they bought that second hand, $5. That's, oh gosh, that'll be 1900. That's an old clock. It was second hand then. I often think back. It was tough. During the 30s, all you could earn would be a few days work on the road to pay your taxes. But those were the happiest days. Everybody was down on the same level. There was no work for anybody. Not just you, but the whole village. All the villages around here. That's when you had time to fish and hunt and hike and dance and parties. You didn't have any money to buy your liquor, you made it.
Well, in 1935, what did Argenta look like? How many families were there?
It was starting to dwindle down. All the logging the old loggers were gone. There were just a few families, 5 or 6 families that were here to start with. That's all there was.
Well, the logging was mainly in the 20s then?
Yeah, in the early 30s.
When did the camp close up above?
Well, that'll be in, I was about 8. And,
so that's what you were born in
17,
and
25.
So you never worked for them, but
No,
your dad did?
My dad did, and I'd go with him.
What about the camp down below?
Down here?
Yeah.
That would be about the same time. It went a little longer.
Well, when did TARS come?
In the early 30s, 32. Would it be? Somewhere in there.
They bought out Hanna?
Well, that changed hands, I don't know how many times. After Hanna left. And they had a place in Nelson and traded a place in Nelson for this. That was during the 30s. Real hard times.
Did the school operate all through those years?
Yep. A little school in every community. They get teachers from all over the province come up here. This would be their first year.
Always new teachers?
New teachers. Yep.
Would they stay more than a year?
Some of them would, yep. They'd get to like it.
Who had the first car in Argenta?
Well, there was a mine up Glacier Creek. So they call it the Surprise Mine. That company had an old Model T Ford truck.
Did they run it in and out from the Argenta Wharf?
Yep. Up to not to the mine, but up to the Hauser Road where the Glacier Creek Road took off.
Uh-huh.
It was just a narrow 4-foot road there at that time.
Mm. Well, would all Hauser people would go through Lardo, wouldn't they?
Yep.
But
and when they got trucks, vehicles, they'd come to Argenta and meet the boat here.
That was after the war?
Oh, yeah, that's before the war.
Mm.
The last war.
How about people in Argenta? Did anyone, Gallus's or Coleman's or anyone have a car?
Well, the big ones had a car. Got one finally, and then Gallus's. Glenn's uncle, he got one. Rex, old things. I didn't have one until 1953.
Mm.
But we had a truck for hauling, for a mill.
A logging truck?
Small logging truck.
Mm. How far up did the road go past from where the co-op is? At the time of the war, the road go all the way up.
No, it ended right there. Right there where the Department of Highways have got a sign there, end of.
In the public road.
Yeah.
Oh, there were all skid trails beyond.
Skid trails beyond there.
Where did they bring the pole? Oh, okay, they logged for poles up there.
Yeah, they'd skid them down to the lake, down over the hill. There's lots of skid trails still in there, old.
And they'd deck them.
Yeah, and boom them. And then they take booms out.
Well, would they drag them all the way back to the head of the lake, or would they just boom them out in the spring when the lake was high?
When the lake is high. Yeah.
So all winter long, when the water was low, they'd just pile them up down
That's
there?
right. That's the way we logged too. One year we got caught up at the top end there with 1,200 cedar poles decked up there, and the water didn't come up.
Wow.
For some reason. It usually came up, in the spring and then again in the fall. And it didn't come in the fall. They're doing some work down at the bottom end there. So they let it go. And we were caught with these poles. And we drew money on them. We had to get them out of there.
You drew money on them?
Yeah.
I mean, you were paying your expenses on...
Yeah. So, and the goose grass, that joint, we call it goose grass, grew up that high, and it was just a little channel through there. We got in there, we cut a swath, that goose grass, weighted, and with size, we cut a swath up to that, there where, where that road comes down. Rick Mottner had some logs skidded there for Chris Temple and them to build their house. Well, we cut that grass from Red McLeod's shack up to there, and then we'd raft them poles down that channel.
On that real little
slough.
Huh, that must have been immense.
That was.
I guess you didn't have a choice.
And then you see, we'd boom them down here at the head of the lake and then tow them over to Lardo and get them out and load them on flat cars.
Were they peeled?
Peeled.
Where did you peel them?
Up right in the bush.
You peel them as soon as you cut them?
Yeah, in the spring we'd peel them when the sap was running, and they peel easy.
Huh. Well, there was some kind of a pole plant in Lardeau.
Yeah. We operated out of KFPs. We operated for them. We peeled a lot of poles there.
Now, that was hand peeling?
Mm-hmm. No, machine peel. We did have, before they put a machine in there, pole peeler, we peeled by hand. We'd hire everybody we could in the country. Peel by hand. We loaded out an awful pile of poles out of Lardo. And big poles. It took 2 flat cars to load them on.
Oh. When did they quit logging the poles from up here? In 20?
Oh, that was way here. It was. We took the last one, so it was way back out of the pass. It was in the 50s.
And by then you were logging with a cat?
Yeah.
How big a cat did you have? D2 or D3?
TD9 was the biggest at that time. Started with a TD6 and a TD9 and then went up to 15, and that was it.
You were logging with a TD15 up here?
My brother had a TD6. He got after the war. And then he went on his own, and Dorothy's brother, Pete Tarr, and he got an old cat, a 9, and we logged with that, and then a 15. And we logged with that all out of the pass there.
Pull an enormous amount of poles behind one of those things,
Yeah.
I guess. Were you making good money on the poles?
Poles, yeah. Even at that time, I forget what we were getting. For a pole, can't remember. But saw logs, we logged saw logs when we were getting $5 and 1,000 board feet. Well, that isn't very much for fir and larch. White pine was 8. Now the stumpage on cedar is around pushing $100 a cunit. So you see the difference in price.
It's a big difference, yeah. Well, that was sawn. That wasn't.
No, that was logs.
Logs. So you were getting $5
a 1,000 board feet. And you see there's 600 board feet per cunit. Somewhere's in there.
Could you pay your costs? I mean, could you even make...
Then?
Yeah.
Oh yes, because your cost of living was nowhere near what it is. Clothes.
Who did you sell the saw logs to?
To the mill in Caslow and KFB. It wasn't KFB then, it was Glacier Lumber Company. And then Eddie Match, they had a whirl at that.
Were you the only ones logging in Argenta
Yeah.
in the 40s and 50s?
Well, the Quakers, when they come, they took out a bunch of hardwood poles off of their property.
On the flats? Hardwood, birch and maple?
No, fir and larch. They called them the Salvation Army McLaughlin. So I guess they all belong to the Salvation Army, which was a good organization at one time, and I think it still is.
I noticed an old cabin located, you know where Tanners are building? Right not too far from their place is an old log cabin.
Yeah, that was during the First World War. A feller was hiding out. When the war broke out, he was a German, and he was called
to go back to Germany.
To go back to Germany to fight for his country, and he refused to go, so he went that far back and hid out. He was a carpenter. Polson was his name. That was his cabin.
Well, had he been living down in Argenta? Did he have a place in Argenta?
Well, he worked for different people. He was a carpenter. He built that house at the Big Ones, the old Big One place.
The one that the school owns now?
Yeah.
There must not have been too much work, because I imagine everybody pretty well built their own.
Yeah. Well, I never saw him because it was before my time. 1914.
There's also an old cabin up above the Bagman place.
Up on the hill there. That was Bigland's original home when they first moved in.
Yeah. Those are the only two old places I've seen. There may be other old cabins around.
Well, those are about the only ones left.
Or were there some others you remember when you were a kid?
There was, I don't know, there was the one up Wolfold Place across the creek there. From the rural center, there's a road goes up. Up in there, there was a cabin in there. An old one. It was all collapsed when I first, for back I could remember. I don't know who lived in there, but some prospectors or.
Was it very far up? Was it?
No, right where that cabin is there now, that small little log pole cabin. It's just to the side of that.
Jack Folkert said he could remember when he was a kid, and that would have been about 1905 or so, that there were a couple of old places up behind the bakery.
Yeah.
Said, do you remember those?
Well, they were all tumbled down.
He said they were the brothels is that right? I didn't know that.
The name of the people?
No, I said they were brothels for the miners.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, there was lots of them. All through up the Hauser Road. Red light houses, cabins. Wherever there was any activity, mining, or anything like that, road construction, or like on that railroad we went in, that's the first thing that moved in. Everything come in. Bootleggers and gamblers and the women.
Was Argenta very big in those days? From what you remember?
Well, from what I remember, there was buildings all over the hillsides there, at the wharf. But the hotel, that was still a hotel. I remember when that was, that Stevenson's place was still a hotel.
Was that the only hotel?
Yeah, there was 3 here.
3 hotels.
But the others are melted down, rotted down, but that one was kept up.
Were they all right next to each other?
Yeah, up above the wharf there. That was where the CPR boat come in. That was the village right there. Mainly.